Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Janet. I am working through the King James's Bible. Today I'm in the book of Joshua, working through chapters 8 to 10. So we've got a lot of ground to cover today, so I will get started. I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what happened yesterday. So the Israelites have now conquered the city of Jericho. They've killed everybody there and the king, but they were told when they were there not to take anything from the land. God, I think, is testing them, whether they are going to stay faithful to him. And unfortunately, one Israelite named Achan failed to follow God's laws. And so he is the one that brought sin onto Israel. And as they were going into the next battle of Ai, failed because they didn't have God on their side. So what happened was Achan, his family, the livestock all had to be killed to sanctify the camp, to release them from that sin. And then God now is back on the side of Israel. So we start off with chapter 8 as they go into the battle of Ai. Obviously Joshua might be a bit nervous now about going in there because they've failed once before, but God is reassuring him and saying, you know, we're going to be victorious. I'm on your side now. And they are going to create an ambush. Now God's also said when you go in and you take over the city, you are allowed this time to take the livestock and plunder. So they can take what they need from Ai when they go into this city. So I'm going to give a visual which was inspired by a YouTuber named Ben Emerson. So thank you, Ben. This is the whiteboard I'm going to use to just give you an idea of how this battle played out. So if you see Gilgal there, that is where the Israelites are right now, and they're planning this ambush on Ai. So what Joshua is told to do is gather 30,000 of his men, and then he gets 5,000 of them to set off by night, and they are to settle right in between Bethel and Ai. So they stay there for the night. Meanwhile, Joshua and his 25,000 men and the elders, they all settle right up above here. There's a valley here in between Ai. So they settle there for the night. Then first thing in the morning, up they get, Joshua, and they start battle with Ai. Now the king of Ai sees them coming, gets all his men up, and he sets them out for them. Now what Joshua does is pretends that, oh my goodness, we failed at you before, so we're scared, we're going to flee. So they then flee out into the wilderness, getting all the Ai men out towards them, and then until they've left their city, till there's no men left in their city. And once that's happened, Joshua then is told by the Lord to get his spear, point it out, and this alerts the team here ready, and they are to go and burn Ai. So they do. They head over there and they set the city on fire. So the flames are rising, and the men here from Ai see their city on fire. So they flee backwards. Oh my goodness, what's happening? Let's head back. So they head back. In the meantime, Joshua also heads back. So he turns around, heads back as well. So we've got them surrounded then by 25,000 men coming at them here, 5,000 here. And I mean, they are just surrounded. So they are then killed. And 12,000 of the Ai men and people are killed that day. Apart from King, Ai is then brought to Joshua. He's not killed, but Joshua then kills him, and then he hangs him on a tree and buries him at the gate of that city, and they cover him with rocks, and it's left to that day. That's what happens to King Ai. He has met his demise. Joshua then builds an altar to the Lord at Mount Ebal, and this was commanded in the book that Moses wrote, the book of law. So he is following the rule, because we learned earlier on that Joshua is to read this book every day and night and meditate on it. So he knows this book now. He's getting to know it inside out. And this is what he has to do. He has to create this altar for the Lord at Mount Ebal. And they offer burnt offerings and peace offerings to the Lord, and this is for the glory goes to the Lord for winning the battle. So they're giving their thanks to the Lord for allowing them to win because they've got God on their side. And Joshua then writes the copy of the law onto these stones at the altar, and half of the tribe of the Israelites, because obviously they're a big tribe, half of the tribe stand at Mount Gerizim and the other half at Mount Ebal, while Joshua reads out the law, the book of law, to them all. So he's really giving a thorough, understanding to the people. They're listening to this, and this closes chapter 8. So one more battle done, and we continue on. In chapter 9, we have some deception going on. So here the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, excuse my pronunciation, all gather together to fight against Joshua and the Israelites, because they are all pretty scared. So they're trying to accumulate themselves together because they know that the Israelites have won 2 big battles and now they are fearful they're coming for them. Meanwhile, the Gibeonites try some deception on the Israelites. They know that, maybe it's not the greatest thing to try and battle with them. Let's try another angle. So what they do is they pretend that they are ambassadors and that they've come from a faraway land. So what they take with them is like old sandals that are worn. They take old sacks, old garments, so it looks like they've been on this really long journey. And they go to meet Joshua at his camp in Gilgal. And they say to him, "We have come from a faraway land because we've learned about the Lord God and we want to make a covenant with you. We have brought all of this, but look, our sandals are worn, our bread is mouldy, our sacks are worn. It's like we wanted to bring these gifts, but it's all worn out now." So Joshua sees this, that they want to make a treaty with them, and he takes them at face value. He does not consult the Lord on this at all. So they sign papers and they make an oath with these people until 3 days later they find out they've been deceived. But unfortunately, they can't go back on their word. And so the Israelites decide, we're not going to kill them, we will allow them to be with us. But because they have deceived us, Joshua then makes them servants, and they will then carry out work at the Lord's altar. So they're going to be woodcutters and water carriers from now on. That has become their role. And that closes chapter 9. Our final chapter, chapter 10, is the big battle in the south with the Canaanites. So the king of Jerusalem has heard about the Israelites' conquest of Ai and that they have made peace with the Gibeonites. So he goes to the cities around Canaan. There's 5 kings there, and he gathers them all together to go and fight battle with Jebus because of what they've done. It's like, you've gone and made peace with him, so rather than battle the Israelites, they decide to go and attack Gibeon. Now the men of Gibeon then rush to Joshua, right to the camp of Gilgal, and say, come on, help us please. Well, they've come to attack us. Can you please help? So Joshua agrees to help them. He sets out with his men with God's promise that they will be victorious. So he sets off, and with this faith in his heart and his men with him, they go on a 20-mile march throughout the night towards Gibeon to fight this battle. Obviously, when they arrive, their enemies are shocked that they have shown up now to fight this battle. But they're not on their own, remember, they've got God on their side, and God creates hailstones, these huge hailstones that come and fall on to the enemies and kill more of them than they do by the sword of the Israelites. So more are killed by God's hailstones. They defeat their enemies. So Joshua then returns to his camp in Gilgal. Now we heard that during this battle, 5 of the kings have hid in a cave in Makkedah. And so Joshua sends some of his men to basically block the cave with some boulders, which they do. So after the battle, when Joshua has returned, he then gets his men to remove these boulders from the cave, bring out the kings, and then he asks his commanders to put their foots on the necks of each of the kings, which they do, and then they are killed. Each king is killed, then they are hung on a tree for all the people to see, and then as the night falls, they are taken down and they are placed in the cave, and the boulder is placed back over. So the kings are killed and they are buried in the cave. Now the battle really starts going. So it's just major fighting going on. So next the battle is of Makkedah. They start there and they destroy that city just as they did Jericho. So that's another city gone. Then they attacked Lebna and his king, then Lachish and his king, also King Horam of Giza because he helped the king of Lachish. Then they destroy Eglon, then Hebron and Debra. All of these cities are destroyed by the Israelites. They have now conquered the entire region, plus the hill country, the western footlands, and Negev, and the mountain slopes. So all the kings and all the people in those areas were destroyed as commanded by the Lord. And once these great battles have been fought and won, the Israelites return to their camp at Gilgal. So I'm just going to show you a visual of the southern area that the Israelites have now conquered, so you can see for yourself how big of a battle they have won. You can see all the areas there that they have gone round. Gilgal, Gibeon, they've gone all the way around Makkedah, which was where that cave was, Hebron, Debra, all of those areas now are conquered by the Israelites. And that closes our 3 chapters for today. So that's been a lot of conquest and battles won. So the Israelites must be feeling quite victorious. The Lord is on their side. They're following his commands and things are starting to work in their favour. They also now have more in their camp with the Gibeon side of the people who are now their slaves. There are the woodcutters and the water carriers, so they've got more. They're just building in their camp and they have more loot now, so they've got more livestock and all of the goods that was in Ai they were able to take. So we've got a lot in their favour really. And that ends our chapter. It's a sad time that all of those people have lost their lives, but I guess it's because they have not been following God's laws. They've been following false gods, and it's like their nations have been descending slowly into this, like, sacrificing children for their gods, these fake gods. It's just gone really off the rail. I guess God is wiping those nations out. So make of it what you will. These are the chapters for today, and I will be back again tomorrow for more within the book of Joshua. Thanks for being here. Bye.